Hey there, beginners. I'm going to give you a nice quick review of our first lesson. This is good for parents also, just to make sure that we don't break anything that we're borrowing. I'll be doing this live with the camera on my phone since I got to do a lot of angle readjustments. So the first and most important thing is to make sure that we open our cases safely. So I have obviously a different case than most of you. You'll have latches where you'll want to lift those up to enable the top lip to go open. On the top of your cases, you'll find some sort of a logo. You want to make sure that that is always facing up. You don't want to put the logo on the ground, or else the trumpet might come out upside down, or horn, whatever instrument you're playing. So when you open up your case, you always want to make sure it's on a flat and level surface. A bed is just satisfactory because it's cushioned around it. You're going to lift up the top lid and it'll expose the trumpet. Putting the trumpet together is pretty easy. It's among the easiest of the instruments. What you would do is take your mouthpiece and simply plug it into the trumpet lead pipe. You can give it a small turn to the right as you push it in to ensure it's locked into place, but we will start by ensuring we only have our mouthpiece to get a good quality trumpet or French horn sound. When you hold the mouthpiece, you want to hold it with two thumbs and one thumb and two fingers on the end of this long tubey thing here with the hand that you don't write with. So most of you guys are righties, you'll use your left hand like I'm using. If you're a lefty, then you would use your right hand. You're going to hold it up to your lips and try to get it to split your lips evenly. You don't want it to be too low or too high to make sure you have a good amount of both lips inside. You, as a trumpet player or a brass player, need to make sure you have a lot of air. So we're going to take a big breath on one beat before we start playing. So I'm going to count to 4, and when we hit number 4, we're going to take a big deep breath, try to keep our shoulders relaxed, and we're going to try to buzz a note to come out of our mouthpiece. The goal today and this week is just to get a solid, consistent sound, and I'll demonstrate what that means. So here's what we were looking to have happen as your first week's assignment. 1, 2, 3. So that was about 8 beats or 8 seconds. Beats aren't always seconds, but I used it about a second per beat. That would be a great example of what we want you guys to be able to do this week. If you are unable to do that, you get this sound. Your lips are probably too far apart. If you're getting this sound, your lips are not tight enough, and so we want to try to focus the air through a smaller opening. I use a straw analogy. So years ago, Burger King, they probably still do, McDonald's, they have these really thick straws, right? Or Six Flags, you get those gigantic ones, or Jenkinson's if you're going down. They have these really, really wide open straws, and that has to fit into your mouth. So when you put that in your mouth, your opening is very large, versus what we want to use for trumpet, which is like the size of a coffee stirrer. So if you think about those little coffee stirrer straws that like barely teensy holes in them that are very, very small, that's how tight we need your lips to be to make the air go through. So instead of a bigger opening that looked kind of small, we need it to be more like focused and pressured here, okay? You can also think about smiling a little, keeping the corners back, and bringing your teeth together. You don't want to play with your teeth completely together, but for just getting a beginning starting sound out, that's not a bad idea. So if you're getting this sound, your lips are probably just not comfortable buzzing it, so just take some practice. This is going to be a long week of just getting a nice solid sound, and while you aren't really great at making good sounds on your instruments yet, a mouthpiece is a lot softer than playing on the trumpet, but I do know that you guys are really excited to play on the trumpet. So what I would recommend you guys do is plug your trumpets in. When you pick up your trumpet, I should also point out, we want to grab it from a strong pipe. So you never want to grab it from the valve. This is bad. Don't do that. You can grab it for the valve caps. You can grab it from here. This section of the trumpet is a good quality section to pick it up from. The bell is a nice and solid section. You can grab it from here. You don't want to grab it from the lead pipe. This is a bad spot also because this joint will get loosened and break. So I'm going to pick up my trumpet. I'm going to put my mouthpiece inside. I can just drop it in if I'm holding it straight up and give it a small push and turn to the right, clockwise. If you turn it counterclockwise, it won't lock into place. You never need to jam on it, okay? This is a bad way of getting the trumpet mouthpiece to break, and it will also unsolder this joint. So then after you've got your instrument in your hands, we want to make sure all of our fingers are wrapped around the valves. Our thumb, most of you guys will have this little U here. If you don't worry about it. But you want to make sure your thumb is on the mouthpiece side of the trumpet. And then over here, you guys will have a ring, most of you. If you don't have a ring, that's fine. You don't need it, especially not in 4th grade. Taking it out is actually easier, but if you need to adjust it, there's a little knob over here you can use to adjust the length of it. So for you guys, I would actually recommend getting it out and getting it, either take it off entirely and don't lose it, or push it as far out of the way, because the goal is to get the other 4 fingers that aren't your thumb to all sneak through here. So from the other side, it will look like this. Some of you guys are going to want to put your fingers up here or your pinkies down here. That's a pretty bad technique we want to try to avoid, because you have to get all of the weight of the trumpet in your left hand, okay? Regardless of whether you're a lefty or a righty, all the weight of the trumpet goes in your left hand, so it looks like this. Now, our right hand fingertips are going to go on the valves. Our pointer, middle, and ring finger, no thumb, no pinky. Those are going to go on our valves. The valve buttons up here, these little thingies are called buttons, just like video game controllers. All right, this little pinky ring slot looks like it'd be a good spot for you to put your pinky inside, but that's an old technique. It was used when we were riding horses and the cavalry, and we needed one hand to hold the horse harness, and we're not riding any horses playing trumpet these days. So fingertips on top, pinky on top. All right, it's going to free up your thing. And now your thumb is the most obnoxious part. Your right hand thumb has to go underneath the lead pipe in line with the first valve. So I'm going to see if I can get you guys a good angle on what this should look like. You want this to be a nice open C like that. Many of you guys are going to want to crush your wrist into the lead pipe like this. That's a dangerous way of supporting the trumpet right hand and getting a poor quality sound, and also disabling your valve. So you want to get, the goal is to get your wrist, your right hand wrist, as far away from this long pipe, which is called the lead pipe, as possible. So you want to put your thumb underneath here and keep that C nice and open. Notice that my fingertips and valves are all there. If you're crushing it, you just got to make sure you rotate your wrist out here. All right, if you got all that in position and you can practice holding it, like this literally should take over half of your week of practicing. You should spend about 5 minutes a day buzzing and 5 minutes a day holding the trumpet to make sure you get comfortable holding all of the weight in the left hand. And then you can practice playing a note. Or you might get, if you get this, you got to go back to that buzzing mouthpiece. Okay, this is the instrument. This is just a microphone. It makes your instrument louder. Really, the lips of the instrument. Getting that to happen is going to make you a much better trumpet player, but that'll take a couple of years. All right, if you have questions, send me emails or remind messages or post on Google Classroom, and eventually I'll get back to you. Have a great week of practice, and I'll see you guys next week.